Okay, people, put your lies away. Let's keep it real. Let's be honest up in here because we've got 5 manga we're going to be talking about today. Y'all already know how we do over here. Winner take all. Now, I want to start off actually this time around with addressing once again our weekly poll because you know what? I got to respect, regardless of how I personally feel about the results, you guys' votes, because at the end of the day, you guys are the ones that are saying, yo, this is what it is. This is how I feel. But I do gotta stress that when I ask, hey dog, tell me what you think is the best chapter of this week, I would honestly prefer for you guys to be a little bit more objective is all I'm saying, because yeah, now it's starting to become an issue where people are like, yo dog, come on, even on a setup chapter, One Piece is constantly taking it. Again, for me personally, I respect it, because at the end of the day, if that's how y'all feel, that's how y'all feel. I'm not here to rig no votes. I'm here to get the honest, true feeling of the manga community of, yo, which one y'all think is the hot dog. But I'm just saying, dog, it's a little bit crazy this week because My Hero Academia came with the heat. Of course, we're going to be talking about all of these in this video, so no worries. But Black Clover absolutely came with the heat. Jujutsu Kaisen, you know, it was dope or whatever, but dog, One Piece, it did come with some heat, but it was more so build up. And looking at the popularity results right now, I believe as it stands, it's One Piece at like 40 something %, and then it's like My Hero at like 20 something, and then I believe like Black Clover in third or something along the lines with that, and so on. But I feel as though there's maybe a teensy bit of bias of, yo dog, we just love One Piece and we don't care. It could be a chapter of Luffy scratching his ass and we're voting that bad boy in, and just a little bit more of objectivity is all I'm asking for. I'm just saying, that's all, just a little bit. But again, I respect it. If that's how y'all feel, that's how y'all feel. But I don't know, we're gonna dive into what I feel is the best manga in order by the end of this episode, and I don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's jump into it.
No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
I want to start off with, let's do Black Clover. Black Clover sounds like a good way to begin because, boy, after that 3-month hiatus and the return last week with Asta dropping bombs on Sister Lily, like, yo, I want that, and unfortunately, us having to accept the family zone, the worst zone of them all. Friend zone, there's a little wiggle room, ain't no room in family zone. But then, Lucious Zogrotis showing up, and where we pick up in chapter 333, throwing down the gauntlet, so to speak. But I'm gonna say something before we even jump into anything, and I really want you guys' feedback on this. Anybody that has read Black Clover or watched it through and through up until this point, tell me if I'm off on this. I personally feel like this big Julius reveal, especially after getting all the details in chapter 333, I feel as though to a certain degree this was originally going to be Tabata's plan for all the way back in the Elf arc. Because if you even look at the uncanny similarities of the whole Patry and Lit situation, and then where we're at right now with it, with Lucious and Julius, it's kind of similar, no? Like, at the end of the day, one of the big things, it starts off with Lucious saying, yo, I was the most talented of them all. I was a being born with 2 souls in one body. Is that not similar to Patry and that whole situation? And I said Patry and Lit. I meant to say Patry and William Vengeance, because they were 2 souls in one body. And even if you go back to the anime, there was little breadcrumbs all throughout the anime, but in particular, I remember one opening where they showed like a slide of the different villains. I believe there was like a cast of characters, and all of the villains had like either a certain shading or whatnot, and one of those people that was in that list was Julius. And if you even look at it, it looks as though potentially, what I'm thinking is maybe at that particular point, all of that setup and build up was that at that time, and I know people don't like to think this way and think that the mangaka have every single piece of detail written down from start to finish before they begin, but I think maybe that was supposed to happen way back then. Who knows, maybe Black Clover was supposed to be a short and sweet ride, and that was going to be the finale, and probably Shueisha was like, I don't know, it's kind of hot right now. You want to keep it going a little bit because online, at the very least, especially the Black Clover anime, scorching fire. So who knows if maybe at that point that was supposed to be the big plot twist, and then in the end he decided, yeah, let's do the whole Patry William Vengeance thing instead. Because honestly, it kind of could have worked if you just twist a couple of things around of Lucious Zogratis being that. Because then when you go on from there, that's when it started setting up more about the devils and all of that other stuff. And I don't know, personally, I feel like there was a possibility that this whole betrayal and, Lucious and all of that stuff might have supposed to have happened way back then. And one thing or another happened on the business side of things to tell Tabata, why don't you save that for down the road? Because again, I was reading this chapter and I'm starting off like, sounds familiar. And opening the chapter, he starts off again with following Asta off, the supreme devil of time, magic shall give me the answers to my questions. And honestly, if you really think about it, this is one of those cases where you could compare, and I'm starting, yes, and I know this is the obvious one I always like to use, but you could essentially almost compare Lucious, Zogratis, and Julius, but definitely Lucious, to somebody like a Madara or somebody like a villain that, yes, he's done some evil deeds or some questionable deeds, but nevertheless, ultimately, the end result is that he wants peace. He wants true peace. You could argue that maybe the stuff that happened in the past with his bro dying and all of that sad stuff has motivated him, but either way, this is somebody that is doing evil for the ultimate outcome of good, seemingly, according to what we got in this chapter. I've seen in Julius the future true peace for this world. Also, I foresaw you attempting to stop me, and that's basically kind of the duality that we also got, coincidentally, with William Vonjitz and Patri. The fact that pretty much William Vonjitz was going to be the one that might have stopped it, but the difference between that is that William Vonjitz allowed Patri to run wild in the end and basically was conflicted, but ultimately allowed his pal, the other side of him in there, to go nuts and do what he did, while it looks like Julius was actually agreeing to a certain degree with the ideals of Lucius, but wanted to go about it a different way and basically suppressed Lucius as much as he could until whatever happened there with Lucius basically pointed his finger at Julius and essentially completely took over. That's the difference, where Julius was like, yo, I agree with you, but we got to go about it a different way. Where William Vonjitz was like, I like both sides. I don't know what to pick. Just go ahead, do it. Because in the end, Julius clearly was going to stop Lucius, and that's when Lucius says how unfortunate that he even seen that even the closest person to him would attempt to stop him and basically not understand what he's trying to do. Because seemingly with the whole Astaroth, the time devil and all that stuff, it seems as though there is some sort of future that he sees, and maybe it, is a path of carnage, but at that end of the tunnel, that's where happiness and bliss is supposed to be. But it's kind of, I guess, a question of means to an end, in terms of like, yo, dog, the means to getting there, you're talking about slaughtering people and all sorts of stuff. Even if it brings forth peace, what you're doing along the way is not right. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd imagine that Asta and all of them, they would love peace. They would love for everything to be all hunky-dory and whatnot. But considering the fact that the way he's going about it, that's what kind of separates somebody like Lucius Zogratis from a Julius, from an Asta. The fact that, no, we're not trying to hurt people and we're not willing to hurt people to get that peace. Lucius is. And I love how everybody is confused there. Like, hey, it's the Wizard King. Like, hey, buffoons, you can't tell that, his hair is a little bit different, maybe a little bit more ominous feeling. I mean, I get it. Like, they're still young at the end of the day, Noelle and them, but they're all like, oh, snap, Wizard King, Wizard King. Like, no, he's a fucking devil. And Lucius lets off a giant time bubble like no other, and everybody minus Asta is frozen in time, and this is way more powered up than he's ever been capable of before, because we've seen to a certain degree somewhat of the limits to Julius's power. I mean, for crying out loud, to a certain degree, obviously you could argue, well, he was trying to save the city or whatever, but Julius somewhat got spanked by, Patri and shit like that when they had their battle. But again, a lot of it honestly almost makes me a little bit confused. Like, at that particular point, why didn't Lucius take over Julius's body then? Was this all according to plan? Like, is this dude truly on some next level Aizen stuff of, while Aizen did things in terms of just his own plan that just happened to align, this dude was doing his own plan that happened to align, but it's because he already saw, hey, this is how it's going to go. And apparently the reason why his power is so crazy is what we saw in the beginning of chapter 332, was that he was taking in Lucifero's power. Basically, he magnified his power immensely because now he has Lucifero in him, which I'm not even gonna lie, how do you even stop that? Minus the fact that, hey, Asta's anti-magic, which is what allowed him to be free from the freezing spell. How the hell do you stop somebody that not only, remember, they already struggled against Lucifero, they already had a massive issue against him. Now you have that plus Julius plus the knowledge and wisdom of Lucius Zogratis. Like, this is a very, very broken character. And also, for the people that are saying, oh my god, is rushing. I saw a couple people saying that Black Clover is rushing this. First of all, have you read Black Clover? Hello, like, this manga is very fast paced. But also, come on, dog. Like, you really think the battle's truly about to be decided right here and now? More than likely, by the end of this whole situation, Lucious is gonna say, you're a guppy right now. And you know, it definitely got Asta fired up when he's talking about, yeah, I'm Lucious O'Gratis, and Julius, yeah, he's dead. He's dead, which that is so much cap. Julius is somewhere within there. This is, come on, dog. Like, let's not lie to ourselves here. Julius is not dead. He's still within the body of Lucius O'Gratis. In fact, in order for him to die, I'd imagine it'd have to be that Lucius would have to die. Maybe it's that now that they got Lucifero in there, essentially, you know, it's just way astronomical for Julius to even break through. But yeah, come on. And he goes on to say that I'm gonna fix mankind by basically destroying them and have them reborn using the magic of my siblings, which, hey, did anyone fill you in? Your siblings are dead? Although I'd imagine the sibling situation is that, because this kind of, again, all ties into that whole Patri situation. That's why I almost feel like I gotta keep on stressing. I feel like that was initially supposed to be the Lucious situation. I feel like this whole Julius betrayal, so to speak, was supposed to be then, because a lot of these things about being reborn and stuff, same shit from the Elf arc, same concept. You could argue that maybe Tabata's gonna throw in pieces that, yeah, that's how he was inspired, or that's how things got going from the start of this is all that Lucious saw, because if Lucious seen everything from now until the end, minus Asta, we'll get to that in a second, then he probably was able to use that as a frame of reference, like, oh, okay, if these assholes are being able to be reborn like this, then I could do the same thing with my siblings and their magic and so on and so forth. And then the nail in the coffin for, yeah, you about to get your ass whipped, was him saying, I'm gonna rule over them and I'm going to be the final Wizard King. The final Wizard King, dog. Like, yo, because, you know, end goal here of being the Wizard King, and of course Asta and Yuno, that's their whole purpose right now. But him saying he's gonna be the final Wizard King and rule over reminds me a little bit of Magi. It's Sinbad. I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but yeah, that's kind of an ideal of somebody that they feel like the only way to bring about peace and keep peace going is essentially to become somewhat of a god, right? Like, if you are able to and you feel like your convictions are solid enough, you could stay alive for the rest of time, which I guess using that magic, technically he could just keep rewinding himself so he never dies. Yeah, you could ideally in concept be a god of this situation and be the final Wizard King. You will always reign supreme because he could just keep putting that star magic on his forehead and being reborn whenever he gets older, which I'm wondering, like, how many times has that potentially happened? Because remember, we see in even some of these flashbacks that Lucious O'Gratis is in a freaking wheelchair. So how you go from being in a wheelchair till you're fine? And again, everything was going all according to plan, minus Asta. Asta's the one blip because of that anti-magic. Anti-magic, imagine like there's a map, right? And everything is a bunch of red lights and whatnot. But because of anti-magic, you get no red light for Asta. So Asta is the one that can change fate and destiny because of that anti-magic. But dog violated heavy, dog, when he said, you're pretty much the flaw of this world and I will remove this flaw. And Asta, that's when he was like, okay, enough already. You talking about Julius is dead, you gonna be the final Wizard King and I'm a flaw? We about to throw hands. And showing that Asta is pretty much, I'd imagine right now, the only one that really can throw hands with him, because Asta's able to break free of the magic barrier that has everybody frozen all around him and throws down the gauntlet. They both did, basically. You got Lucious saying, hey, I'm gonna be final Wizard King, it's a wrap, let's go. And then Asta saying, no, I'm gonna kick your ass. And Julius is a benevolent person. I don't know who you think you are, but he simplified it for people that were confused of basically you're a bad guy that took over Julius's body. Like, he simplified it. Although you gotta argue and question the morality, because Julius, similar to William Vengeance, who did he tell about Lucious? Why not just tell somebody, yo, dog, I'm having some crazy brain situation right here. I don't know who I am. Tell somebody. The fact that he hid that and kept on going with his ideals and thinking he could suppress it, gotta question it just the same way. I ain't gonna lie, there's a little bit of a hate squad for William Vengeance, has been since he was revealed to be a traitor and pretty much got off scot-free for his crimes. You gotta look at Julius a certain way too, like, dog, you ain't telling nobody? Like, hey, Yami, little precaution, if I dye my hair black and I start acting a little funny, I'm not me. And the chapter ends off with Asta saying, I'm gonna stop you here and now and I'm gonna surpass the Wizard King, it's time. Which, again, I don't feel like that's gonna happen. I feel like Lucious is gonna come up with some monologue, some reasoning behind why it can't happen now, because at the end of the day, for starters, Asta breaking that barrier, he could get jumped right there. Granted, the way he is right now, again, Asta's probably the only one that can do anything, because let's be real, Noelle and them against Julius alone, you're not doing nothing. But then you add on top of that, you got Lucifero, the knowledge and power of Lucious Zogratis. Yeah, he says he's stronger than Julius, and I don't have any doubts in my mind. And honestly, great chapter. Absolutely great freaking chapter of Black Clover. Second chapter back, and even better than the first one. The first one gave us a couple of answers that we finally needed to close some books on. Yo, dog, your family. Yo, dog, we back from the time skip. It's been a year and 3 months. This one, though, amazing. Love this chapter. If I had to give it a scale, I'd probably say it's at the very least a 9 out of 10. It's just like feels endgame. Granted, I don't think it's going to be endgame. We probably still got like a year and some change to go. Lucius probably got some things to do, some loose ends to tie up before he completely slaughters everybody here. And also, I'd imagine Julius is holding on. Probably, who knows? Maybe Lucius' heart isn't as dark as it once was. He's talking a hella game, but remember, he was around Julius for a while, so that could play a factor in it. Curious what you guys think about this, though. You think the battle's going to go down straight away right here? And I guess the most important thing is, how are you feeling about this whole Julius really isn't a traitor? It's basically the same shit that happened with Patri and William Vengeance. Are you yay, nay? Do you think that Tabata was originally going to use this way back then? That was the whole point in the whole build-up. And for X, Y, and Z business side of things, they decided, yo, let's keep Black Clover going and save that for another time, because even though it came out perfectly when it did, I'd imagine that could have easily been squeezed into there, and we could have been done with the series at this point. And your overall thoughts and expectations for 334 and beyond, that Black Clover greatness. And like I said at the beginning of this one, Black Clover wasn't the only one that came with the heat. There's another one, My Hero Academia. My Hero Chapter 3. It's a 62. I want to say it's 362. Honestly, it has the whole community going crazy. It was trending all sorts of stuff because of one particular spoiler regarding Bakugo. And before we even jump into the chapter, because, you know, a couple of different things happen in the chapter, I'm going to say straight up and down, Bakugo, in case you don't know, is the most unanimously popular character in My Hero Academia. It is facts. He's the most popular on the popularity votes. I think majority of the time, if not every time, he is number one. Bakugo is just hands down, people love him, especially in Japan. That is their favorite. They rock with him heavy. It is what it is. So you take that information into account. And again, I don't like to bamboozle and put people into a dream of bullshit of like, hey, yeah, you know, like business is business when it comes to manga. I like to give you guys the other side of the spectrum, not just tell you, hey, this is what's happening in the story, guys. You never know. With business comes money, and with business comes the responsibility of certain aspects of keeping things afloat and going. Because just because, let's just say, My Hero Academia ends at the end of this year, early next year or whatnot, that's not the end of the IP. In fact, this is one of those shonen Naruto-esque things that it's going to be around for a long time, whether it be that they continue it via movies, whether they have the Vigilante team do a sequel series with Horikoshi supervising, whatever it is that they decide, this is going to go on for some time. This is not going to be the end of this IP that has increased in sales with each volume forever now. Like My Hero Academia right now, sales-wise per volume, it's at its peak. So you add that, you add in the fact that Bakugo is the most popular character. They're not killing Bakugo. Flat out. I don't want to rock nobody to sleep. If it happened, I would be deathly shocked. I would be like, oh, Tatsuki Fujimoto wrote this one, because yeah, I would be definitely shocked. But I say with 99% certainty that Bakugo's not dying, dog. He's just too popular. I get it. Yeah, I want to be in the story. I get it. All of that suspense. And that doesn't take away from the fact that, holy shit, Shimura is a real threat and people are getting their asses whipped. But you add into that fact, on top of the fact that one of those predecessors to One for All looks very uncanny to Bakugo and coincidentally has this big burn thing on the middle of his face, similar to what just happened to Bakugo. Put two and two together, folks. That's Bakugo from the future, and Bakugo's not dying because he's the most popular character of this IP that is going to go on to the end of time that they're not going to kill. I know some people are like, Fornev, stop, you don't know what... No, I do know what I'm talking about. I've been covering this medium for like a decade plus. I know what I'm talking about. If they did that, it would be the most ballsiest, oh my god, he actually did it type of situation. I guarantee within the next chapter or two, three most. We're gonna hear something where a shocking bolt of lightning hit Bakugo's chest and started his heart. But you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself because the chapter started off with a couple of extra different moments that wasn't just completely Bakugo centric, because it picks up from where the last one left off, with Tamaki basically being the last line of the fence. Essentially, it said that if he doesn't get this move off right now, it's game over. They're doing this big combo attack, him, Medio, and Hado. Like, this is supposed to be the big enchilada, which I thought it was dope too that Horikoshi figured out a way to give this guy a moment. Like, Medio has had moment after moment, Hado has had some decent moments, but of the big three, this dude really hasn't had that big hoorah yet. And sadly, this is his big hoorah, even though, yeah, it didn't quite work out in the hoorah way, because he uses the cornucopia combination plasma cannon, and Shimura doesn't even seem fazed by it. Like, in the middle of it all, he just starts monologuing, "You need to understand." Like, dog, if you're getting hit with a life or death situation and you're like, "Dog, you need to understand. Either you have lost your complete damn mind." Well, Shimura definitely is a little questionable in that aspect, but it wasn't happening. It absolutely wasn't happening. So even though that's supposed to be Tamaki's big moment of the series, his final hoorah, it's our boy, dog. Like, even though we got all for shitbag in there, and I'm always gonna say I don't care for him being there, I just wanted Shigaraki. That's my guy. If Deku is the hero, the main hero, Shigaraki's my villain, and I don't care. And some people take it as if I'm like, shit, no. I'm a massive Shigaraki Tomura fanboy. Like, dog, that's my favorite character of the freaking series. So, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit like, I don't care for All for One. It's time to move. It's time to get out. The time is now. Coincidentally, I have a single dropping August 8th called The Time Is Now, available on all streaming platforms. Check it out. And pretty much when the dust gets settled, we see Shimura saying, "You really think that would have been enough to take out All Might in his prime?" So essentially, Shimura is saying All Might in his prime is where he's at right now, and I would argue probably even beyond, because All Might in his prime was only able to wield these two bad boys. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't using a crazy amount of quirks or anything because he didn't have the capability of using the predecessors. So it's not like All for One, where Shimura has a lot of quirks at his disposal. I mean, for crying out loud, he can regenerate and shit like that. So yeah, I'd argue that he's saying that he's All Might in his prime, probably surpassed that at this point. And then the fucking spit in the face on top of it all, him saying, "How delusional can you be?" Even though he's a delusional dude, and started muttering about friends from like 20 years ago that are probably dead at this particular point. Like, yeah, that is a tough pill to swallow, that Tamaki's big moment ain't mean jack diddles. And I'm kind of glad, because at the end of the day, dog, it cannot be them that does anything major to Shimura. Granted, they stalled maybe for a little bit of time, they gave a little bit of a moment, but come on, son, come on. And then incoming Bakugo. Everybody knew it for already a couple of chapters now. It was going to go a couple of different ways depending on the way the pendulum swung. It was either going to be that Bakugo straight up going to change as a character and go bad on him, or he was going to unlock some type of power. Something big was going to happen with Bakugo, because Shimura shattered his mind when he told him, "Dog, you ain't nothing but like a little pipsqueak in comparison to Deku, Izuku. Like, yo, what are you doing? You ain't shit." So when you put that into account, you knew something big was going to happen with Bakugo. And when he tells Best Genius, like, take care of everyone, you know what I'm saying? He's kind of a little bit delirious and delusional at that point as well. He's just had the living shit kicked out of him, and he's damn near on death's door. And it definitely feels like, which it's kind of gonna be something where maybe people might go at Horikoshi if this doesn't turn out the way it's been teased or whatnot. But even that big page where he's like, "Yo, we still got a battle to win. Isn't that right, Deku?" Like, it almost feels like, yo, oh shit, this is death. Like, he's gonna die. Like, it's that sad moment. It's like a shocking revelation within Bakugo and shit like that. It definitely is building to that. And he absolutely got a massive boost because he's able to dodge an attack by Shimura. Where they do that at, dog? He definitely got some power up, because apparently his sweat glands has been building a sphere, and it being inside of his body gave him a massive boost to be able to increase his speed, and that's how he's able to dodge an attack by Shimura. Because let's keep it real, who's supposed to be doing what against Shimura? Let's cut the malarkey. And adding even further to this big buildup of, oh god, Bakugo is really gonna die, he says, "Izuku, tell me, will I ever be able to reach you someday?" And it's funny because that's pissing off Shimura. He's like, "Yo, why am I so angry? Why am I losing my cool?" Well, I'd imagine it's the fact of, again, this whole situation of he's powering up because of friends. Remember, one of the big things, especially what Medio was telling him, what, 2 chapters ago now, of, yo, you're like this because you don't got no friends and shit like that. I'd imagine when he sees like a Nakama power up, it pisses him off, which makes me even more of a Shigaraki fanboy than ever. Of, get out of here with that friendship power up shit. Hold on, let me roll my sleeves up. Who the yes, people, I am the numero uno Tomura fanboy. Thank you. And we even get that really dope page of Bakugo next to what seemingly was like the spirit of all might that we seen inside of One for All, and he's talking to him, which kind of doesn't that signify like he's dead at that particular point, right? Like he's already dead, so to speak, if he's able to talk to a spirit or whatnot, and does something that we all knew was inside of Bakugo, where he says, I never had the chance to ask you, but can you sign this for me? And he had like a all might card, because at the end of the day, Bakugo was a good boy with a bad temper and kind of a bully, so to speak, that had a change of heart at the end. So that's really where he was, but he always really did idolize All Might. He just did it discreetly. While Deku was always like, yo, everybody look at me, I'm numero uno fanboy, he'd be over there like, nobody needs to know about these All Might sheets. Mom, come put these other blankets on top of my All Might sheets. Like, he hid his fandom, but nevertheless, he always admired and respected All Might, and that was somebody that he looked up to. And it's sad that, you know, it takes a life or death situation sometimes for somebody to look and say, yeah, this is how I really feel. And that panel, I ain't gonna lie, whenever they animate that, if they animate it correctly, Studio Bones, where everybody jumps in to essentially try and save Bakugo from this situation, it was very reminiscent to me personally of, I believe it was the battle of, it was in Black Clover, where Magna and all of them jumped in to save, I forget who it was that was about to get their shit kicked in. Like, it reminded me very heavily of that scene, because it was like, yeah, Bakugo, yeah. Although it definitely feels like something very ominous, and, well, not necessarily even ominous. I don't know what you would call it. Again, it could be symbolic of that Bakugo is, you know, dropping dead because it starts getting, you know, storm clouds in the sky. And mind you, he has these detonations in his body, so it could very well be the explosion of lightning, so to speak, is something that is going to be attached to this whole Bakugo situation. But we got clouds now that are forming in the sky, and now the Demon Lord body is complete. Did anybody blink yet? Man, I hope somebody blinked already. Get my guy free, dog. Stop playing with my dude, dog. Like, yo, y'all holding the boy down. Like, enough. And Shibuda's like, yo, our story begins here, fam. Because pretty much in his mind, yo, look at dude. I just caught a body about a week ago. And it adds even further to teasing this big death of seeing these storm clouds, and Bakugo's parents are there, and his mom is like, our boy hates rain. And yo, I ain't gonna lie, definitely very emotional chapter, definitely. Wow. Because the last piece of dialogue, it says his heart. Basically, it seems as though Bakugo's heart has stopped, and Bakugo looks like he is dead there on the floor. Now, granted, if Horikoshi had the balls to do this, or if they allowed him to do this down at Shueisha, down at Shonen Jump and whatnot, this would be one of the most iconic moments in Shonen Jump history. Like, the Vegeta dying, the Yuno dying, the Sasuke dying. Like, that's how iconic of a moment this would be, but I just don't see it. And if I'm wrong, I will be so happy to say that I'm wrong, that this author did something that I would argue has never been done before, killing off the main, you know, rival of a series and whatnot, but I don't see it happening. I think these storm clouds is going to signify something incredible. Somebody's going to jumpstart that heart, whether it be the detonation inside of his body is going to detonate an explosion that starts his heart again and keeps him going, and now he's going to have an even stronger and more massive, fast power-up or something there. I'm not buying it. The most popular character of My Hero Academia, that's like, yo, dog, most popular character of, I don't know, One Piece, like killing off Luffy. Sure, maybe at the very end they could do that, but even then a lot of people question it. But Bakugo, this IP, I don't buy it. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. You think Bakugo's dead? Yes or no? That's the big question on everyone's mind right now. You think it's complete? You think that it's a Dundada? Don't get me wrong. Great chapter. Amazing chapter. Holy shit. Horikoshi, not only did he have the big explosion with Tamaki trying and taking that L, giving even further credence to, no, Shimura is the real deal. But then on top of that, seemingly Shimura catching a body and the most popular character of the series seemingly dying. His heart stopped. You think it's a real thing? And how you gonna feel if he's not dead? Do you feel like it's, oh, fairy tale fake out situation? Because there has been some fake outs in My Hero recently, so your thoughts and expectations for that. I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't take away from the fact that this was a bomb-ass chapter. In my opinion, the best chapter this week, I would argue. Like, for me, as a toss-up between this and Black Clover, I would argue because there's something more major and the stakes is way more high at this particular point, or shall I say, the outcome is way more high, the progression of what just happened is way more high. I'd probably give My Hero the best chapter this week, and it's kind of crazy because the competition is steep. That's where it stands. However, if it's a fake out, depending on how the fake out happens, because there was already a buildup of, you know, the detonations within his body, like if a big explosion goes off within his body and it starts his heart, is that really a bad fake out? And overall thoughts and expectations for My Hero Academia with 363 and beyond. Great chapter. I'm just worried about how the fandom is going to take it within a week, 2, 3, when Bakugo's not dead. Or he's dead, but he's not going to stay dead, whatever. And I hope nobody takes this as like an attack on Bakugo or an attack on My Hero Academia. I'm just keeping it real, man. I don't want to be in this fantasy of it might happen. Like, the chances of the most popular character of any Shonen Jump title dying permanently is slim to none. Even when Toriyama used to play around with Goku dying, oh, we're just going to see him in heaven until he returns back to Earth. But either way, still banging chapter. And then the series that a lot of people feel is cheating. A lot of people feel like, yo, no, One Piece fans, y'all not playing fair. One Piece fans, My Hero should have taken it. Black Clover should have been the one. Why must One Piece win every time? Well, I would argue it has 1,050 something reasons why it wins, but also at the end of the day, dog, this is endgame stuff, and One Piece is in a league of its own in terms of the setups and build-ups, and even smaller reveals are so grandiose because there's just so much now. Dog, we've had 1,000+ chapters of building up to these moments, so when we get even bigger build-up and bigger things that happen, it's going to feel massive. It's going to feel like everything else pales in comparison. So I understand to a certain degree the One Piece fan that will vote for One Piece being best chapter this week. Like, don't get me wrong, I personally don't really see it being the best. It was a great chapter, but yeah, it is what it is, and I gotta respect it. And like I was saying, this chapter of One Piece, definitely a little bit of an aftermath chapter. I mean, hello, we just went from 2, legendary battles, or I guess 1 legendary battle and then 1 bozo that tried to come up in here, Wano, and think he was doing something, and had the red hair Shanks come through and be like, yo, I'm watching you, dog. Step down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Green Bull got his ass handed to him. But thankfully, this chapter, for the most part, it was a lot of setup and build-up. One major thing that I was like, how, Sway? How? That we're going to get into. But starts off, for the most part, Raizo and Shinobu, after, again, the big battle that the Scabbards had against Green Bull. They're completely drained. They look damn near like freaking skeletons. And I'm like, okay, it shows a little bit of the aftermath and impact that Green Bull had. Green Bull wasn't only all talk, he did put some work in. And also it cuts to Kinemon, which Kinemon was nowhere to be found. Imagine Kinemon turned out to be a traitor like Hanjiro. No, that'd be terrible. But he was with Suru, and we find out that his wife is okay, and, you know, a lot of hunky-dory stuff, so to speak, where he's madly in love with his wife, and he's like, even after 20 years, she's so beautiful, which, now that I think about it, so how much older is she than him? Basically, like, yo, dog, she's super milfing it out because you're 20 years older than your husband, at the very least. Unless, now that I think about it, unless maybe Kinemon was a little bit older. I can't remember in the flashback what the age difference was, but if Kinemon was maybe a little bit older, then maybe the age balanced out. Who knows? Also, shout outs to Raizo for being jealous and hating. Like, I wish I was popular. Man, Jiraiya, if you don't stop, like, I don't care. I'm always going to say Raizo is the tribute from Eiichiro Oda to Jiraiya from Naruto, and that kind of also added to that fact of him being like, I wish I was popular. Like, no. And then I saw a little bit of chitter chatter in the One Piece community over this fact in particular, and I was kind of like, I could see some people's disappointment, and personally, I wouldn't have picked this person as the leader, but essentially, Neko and Inu decide, you know what, we're gonna stay in Wano, so that way we could back up and protect Wano alongside, of course, our new master, Momonosuke, and that kind of makes sense, honestly, because if you just leave it to Momonosuke, he's still not ready, dog. Like, he may have the appearance of a, you know, buff-ass, grown-ass dude and all that shit, and he has the dragon transformation. You still need the wisdom and guidance of the vassals, and who better than, Odin's people? So definitely I like that move. It's the other move that a lot of people wasn't really fond of, and I'm not particularly fond of it, but I saw outrage and I was like, okay, y'all need to relax. The fact that they appoint Carrot to essentially be the new leader of Zou. And realistically, if I had to choose between all of them, I would have probably gone with Wanda over Carrot. I get it, Carrot when the moon, the strength and all of that jazz. Or I would have called a duo between Carrot and Wanda. Wanda with the smarts, Carrot with the strength, something along the lines of that. I just feel like Wanda would have been a better choice than Carrot, because Carrot is kind of silly. So to have her being the leader of Zou over there, I mean, you need somebody to lead it, but I just feel like that was probably just a little bit of a excuse that a lot of people that wanted Carrot to be, Carrot for Straw Hat. Well, she can't be Straw Hat anymore because she got to run Zou. So that's why I feel like Oda made that decision, because otherwise it's like, it's Carrot. She's goofy. She's silly. Can she really? I mean, then again, the most goofiest man of them all is about to be Pirate King someday, Luffy. So there's that. And I ain't gonna lie, I was really happy for Momonosuke and Hiyori when they saw that their grandfather was alive, and they were so happy, like, oh my god, even though most of our family is gone, at the very least we have another family member. And Hiyori's crying and all that stuff. I was happy for them after all of the tragedy, their mom dying, Odin being killed and betrayed and all of that stuff. Yes, give these people some goddamn family. Like, yeah, they got each other, but giving them the grandfather and finding out that he's still alive, that was a great move. And I'm glad, because it also probably gives them even more of a stronger morale. Like, yeah, people, the Kozuki is alive and well. We got our grandpops, we got our vassals. Like, yo, we good out here. And in classic Kinemon fashion, despite the fact that majority of the scabbards knew of his identity under that red mask, Kinemon is there shocked as hell, like, oh my god, he's been here this whole time. Like, Kinemon, you goddamn buffoon. And Frankie finds out about Pluton, and basically it's offered like, yo, Luffy, do you want it? Luffy doesn't want it, which at the end of the day, it's classic Luffy. What the hell is he gonna want with an ancient weapon when he wants to do things his way? Although ultimately, even though he doesn't want it, at some given point, I'd imagine Luffy is gonna have some sort of command, control, or just some hands in the pot of, he's gonna have at the very least involvement with the ancient weapons. Hello, he's the Pirate King, and one of the things is Roger was trying to do that. I wish Luffy at certain times, personally, I know people, okay, yes, One Piece is perfect, all of that jazz, but part of me feels like I wish that Luffy was a little bit more like Roger. Roger was, yeah, give me those goddamn ancient weapons, bring them here. And while Luffy has been following pretty much the trail left behind by Roger all those years ago, nevertheless, Luffy not wanting Pluton, saying whatever about it. I mean, I guess it's kind of the whole idea of, even though he doesn't want them because he's so great, eventually it will come to him. What is his will be attractive regardless. So even though he's not really all that pressed about having Pluton, I'd imagine at some given point, he's going to have some type of involvement with it. And how the freak does Caribou constantly always happen to Cat? Like, yo, Oda, little bit too convenient at this particular point of Caribou hearing about Pluton and saying, oh, I think he would want to know about this one, which I ain't gonna lie, who would he be talking about at this particular point of, hey, I'd imagine he'd want to know, like, who is Caribou down with at this point. And I almost feel like I wish there was a little bit more of Caribou, so when these little happy accidents for him happen, that we get more of a, oh, it makes a little more sense, because otherwise I'm just looking at it like, yo, how, Sway, how? And in classic Straw Hat fashion, Momo wakes up and he goes to ask Zoro, yo, teach me some swordsmanship, which that would be so badass to be able to say, yo, the leader of Wano was taught by Zoro how to use a damn sword. That would have been freaking epic, but they pretty much have all vacated, and minus them two, everybody else already knew, like, oh yeah, they dipped out already. And I'm like, I wonder why. Like, granted, they usually, it's par for the course or whatever, but I'd imagine, considering the large voyage that they had with Kinemon and Momonosuke's connection with them, dog, you stick around, at least say goodbye to the little squirt. I mean, granted, he's a grown-ass man now, but I don't know, just kind of felt a little bit odd, especially Kinemon. Like, dog, Kinemon was with them, feels like forever. At the very least, in our time, it's been damn near a decade since Punk Hazard, when we ran into him in, like, 2012. Like, it's been 10 freaking years, and we can't get a little bon voyage, like, nothing, like, okay, didn't mean anything to you. Although you could argue again, this is Oda cementing certain things of, no, the voyage must end, dog. If not, we're gonna have just 100 million people with the straw hats. Carrot has to stay in Zou. Of course, Momo is staying here in Wano. And, well, what will become of Kinemon? If Inu and Neko are gonna stay in Wano, I'd imagine Kinemon is probably gonna stay there with his wife as well. And then we cut to what starts revealing some of the biggest stuff of this chapter. Luffy, Law, and Kid, they're drawing lots on who's gonna leave on what day. You know, classic One Piece comedy in there, but also just strategizing the next moves, where Law, again, the wisest of the three, you know, Luffy and Kid are kind of a little bit on the bozo side, and he's like, I'm gonna go northeast, you guys just picked whatever, that's your problem. But then it brings into the biggest part of this chapter everybody is talking about, because Kid is shitting on the Emperor, is talking about Luffy being an Emperor, and he's like, but the one that pisses me off the most is this guy. And we see Buggy did it again. I don't care. This is so freaking epic, and I love it, and it's just, oh my god, because apparently Buggy is now running through as an emperor with Crocodile and Mihawk under him, and nobody believes it. Zoro's like, yo, Mihawk wouldn't do that, and Luffy's like, no, he's a complete idiot. What the hell is going on here? I can't freaking wait. Can we please just get, I don't care. I know some people are like, no, but I want, no. Can we please get a full-on chapter saying and explaining everything that happened from the time the Marines went and they were trying to catch the warlords to now, of like, yo, how did he go from being hunted down, they were about to capture him, to all of a sudden he's the emperor of the freaking seas, and now he got Mihawk and Crocodile running under him? I'd imagine he made some sort of deal with them, and the only way it would work is public perception of, no, we're running under this emperor, because he managed somehow, some way to grab that title. That's why they're running with him. But make no mistake about it, behind the scenes they're probably treating him like a bitch. You know what I'm saying? I'm just giving it real. They're probably treating him like, you do as we say, don't get it twisted, dog. Like, yo, we're doing this for a purpose. But yeah, and they're called Cross Guild, which if you think about it, that kind of makes sense. Even though they're not guilds, they're pirate crews, but it's a crossover between these three collectives. And the biggest thing about it, even further than that, because it's already like, oh my god, yo, Buggy has 2 warlords working under him now. This guy is madness, absolute mad lad. But then on top of that, they are issuing bounties on the Marines' heads. So now the hunters have become the hunted, and I absolutely love it. And it makes sense that now, as we inch towards the end and we are going to have some massive war against the world government and Marines and all of that stuff, yeah, the people that were once hunting you, now that you got the power and the muscle, especially considering they came for all the warlords, they betrayed the warlords and they managed to survive. It's like, oh, so y'all betrayed us? Say less. Now we're gonna hunt you down. So now people like Smoker, people like Kobe, all of the people that thought they were doing something, now they're gonna be hunted down. Which I wonder what happened with Boa. It's been a while. Like, yo, there's a lot of explaining to do. It's even said that, yo, the world changed massively while they were on this isolated island of Wano. Think about it. How long we were in Wano? I want to say we were in Wano about 4 or 5 years. I think we got to Wano 2018. I want to say we started, like maybe summerish, maybe like spring or summer of 2018. So we was in Wano in 4 years. Granted, it wasn't 4 years time in them, but there was definitely like a time skip when Luffy was stuck in the Udon prison and stuff like that. So some time has passed and a lot has changed. When they went in there, the emperors and everything was kind of still the same. They left out of there, and all of a sudden Buggy's an emperor with 2 of the freaking warlords under him. Like, yes, a lot has changed indeed. So I guess that also probably adds to, now that I think about it, why a lot of One Piece fans said, no, this is the best chapter, because it also just demonstrated how much the world has changed since we've been in this arc of Wano, that it went from warlords to new emperors to the world being completely different. And then something that left me questioned in particular was when Kid was talking, I believe Law gave him one of the copies of the Poneglyph, which kind of puts him in the running, which I ain't gonna lie, I just wish the same way that they're doing Cross Guild over there, Buggy and Mihawk and them, why not Luffy, Law, and Kid? Like, I get it, they both want to be Pirate King as well, I'd imagine so, right? Well, Law, I don't know so much. Kid, I'd imagine definitely wants to be Pirate King, but it would just make more sense. Like, okay, you got those 2, I got the worst generation with me, bro. Like, and who knows, maybe it'll play out that way. Maybe they won't get separated. Maybe they'll be forced to continue voyaging together. Although I'd imagine Oda probably doesn't want to draw all of that shit. Like, yo, maybe later, lads. And Kid tells Killer, you want to go after the man marked by flames, but we've got no leads. And I'm like, the man marked by flames. Who the hell are you talking about? Like, is he talking about going with a bounty after Akainu? Is he talking about going after red-haired Shanks? Like, the man marked by flames, maybe it more so refers to, like, the scar on his face. Like, who the hell are you talking about? So that was something that kind of had me questioning. Even Luffy's like, well, just spit it out. You're being vague about it. And the chapter ended off with me questioning, like, Oda, so do you want Yamato with our people or not? Because Yamato's at the top, like, I'm ready to leave now. I'm ready to go finally live as Odin. But you still got Yamato left behind. Now, granted, they're still on the island. I don't think they've left just yet. But yeah, Oda, don't play around. I want Yamato on that ship, okay? I want Odin over there. That is one of the most badass people since... I don't even know. Like, that would be one of my favorite Straw Hats to join. Like, honestly, I like Yamato more than Jinbei, Frankie, and Brook. Don't get me wrong. I love Frankie and Brook a lot. Jinbei, he's cool. I want Yamato on that ship. Oda, please. Please, Oda, please. Or who knows? It might be one of those situations where, was it Usopp that had to jump on the ship at the very end or something like that? Maybe one of those cases where Yamato has to make that lunge of like, yo, we're leaving. Hey, if you want to get on, you got to make your way. Or it might be that Luffy in the end doesn't want Yamato on that ship. So we got to wait and see. Either way, fantastic build up. Cross Guild is freaking amazing. And also a stark reminder, the world is different now. Y'all are on this isolated island, no news, no word of what's happening outside of Wano for a very long time. Here's what happened. Here's what's going on. And Buggy did it again. He did it again. Y'all already know that One Piece greatness. And since we talked about pretty much some of the best chapters, we still got a couple of things going. We still got Jujutsu Kaisen 193. And again, very... I would argue simple but epic chapters, because this chapter continues on the battle with Maki and Noshitori versus Naoya, or this cursed spirit that has still the personality of Naoya. And I wonder what really marks and allows these cursed spirits, because y'all know most of the time cursed spirits, they don't retain their previous personality, but similar to Rika, and that's also referenced in this chapter, this dude has damn near completely retained not only his personality, but even some of his freaking powers. And at this point, he's cursed to a certain degree, even further than anything, because he only has one goal, Maki. That's it. Like, he just wants to get Maki because he, in his previous life, obviously was somewhat, I guess you would say, besmirched, so to speak, by Maki, and his only goal is pretty much to get vengeance. And I'm like, okay, kind of makes sense. So maybe it's having one goal is what attaches their personality and everything that's to them, and as strong as their will is to that goal is what more they retain from their previous life, because Rika's goal was she wanted to be with Yuta, and that's probably what allowed her to somewhat retain that personality. His is, I can't believe I lost to this piece of garbage. I was supposed to be next up. How did this happen? So that's why he retained himself, and his only goal is Maki. And I find it hilarious that he compliments Noritoshi by, yo, you're a piece of shit, but you're definitely next head up, so, you know, I gotta clap it up for you. Like, is he a piece of shit or is he great? Like, which one is it, bro? And thankfully Noshitori isn't completely bound there. And thankfully, Noshitori is still rocking, because at the very last moment where that giant attack hit, he blocked it with blood in front of his face. And I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, I prefer you probably to get knocked out and just see Maki going in. But obviously, in this chapter, we find out that Maki isn't enough. And Noritoshi need to step it up, dog, because Maki's there sliding, looking like she's running into home base. I'd imagine that was inspired by some type of baseball stance or whatever, a baseball sliding into home run, because she goes and slides in and blocks an attack on Noritoshi's behalf. And I'm like, yeah, that's what monsters and badasses like our girl Maki does, baby. And I know the speed has been a big thing in this issue of Jump. Now that I think about it, I'd imagine it's probably a projection from them having to and wishing they had the speed to get these manga chapters done in time, huh? Because Naoya is able to accelerate immensely. This curse is just ridiculously fast, and if you probably take away that speed, I'd imagine they would be able to take him out. But that speed is giving him the edge to the point where all they can do is try and counterattack. Like, yo, if we set something up where he strikes, boom, we'll be able to take him down, because yeah, Naoya is putting in work. And honestly, it's making me look a little bit at Maki like, come on, girl, you were promised to be the one. Like, right now, you're pretty much my favorite character of this damn series. Get up and do something, because by the end of the chapter, I'm there like, Nani? Because with that speed, he manages by the end of the chapter to catch Maki lacking, which granted, he's using a technique that is pretty much now Beetle's, which, god damn, if you at that point, yeah, he's pretty much powered up, and he has her pinned down to the ground, bloody, and he's talking some more smack like, I can't believe I lost to this one. And I'd imagine that's the main reason why he's even here. He got cursed also by his hate of, I lost to this piece of trash in his mind, even though you're the piece of trash. Maki is the GOAT, let's not get it twisted. But he's running at Mach 3 speed, also showing the feats and kind of giving power scalers a little bit something to play with where Jujutsu Kaisen characters are at right now. But either way, yet again, continuing the battle and just showing that, no, this isn't no walk in the park. Even the Maki monster has a little bit of trouble, on top of the fact that it's Maki with what would have been the next head of the Kamo house or whatnot. So yeah, cool battle, but definitely just mostly action and just showcasing that, yeah, Maki has her hands tied right now. It's going to be a tough one. But I have no doubt in my mind it's going to be a combination attack between Maki and Noritoshi that finishes this dude off. And I know that was probably a short run through, but for the most part, again, action chapter, dope stuff, nothing too out of this world. Which leads us into the final chapter that we got to talk about in this episode, which next episode of Winner Take All, there won't be no Chainsaw Man because it's taking a week off. I don't know if it's going bi-weekly or what. Yeah, there won't be no Chainsaw Man chapter this upcoming episode. So let's talk about it, because a lot of people are starting to throw a little bit of dirt on Chainsaw Man's beautiful name. They're basically saying it's taking too long. These setup chapters are ridiculous. And I'm just looking at it like, yo, dog, this is Chainsaw Man 2. We're 4 chapters deep. I remember clearly something like that people praise so much, Tokyo Ghoul Re. The beginning of Tokyo Ghoul Re, it wasn't until chapter 6 or 7 until things kicked off anyways, and that was like a seinen manga or whatnot. Can you give Chainsaw Man a little bit of breathing room? Can you allow Fujimoto to cook? Like, granted, I get it with other series, and I understand a little bit more where it's like, yo, dog, we 200 chapters in, or, you know, Boruto, or, you know, One Piece or whatever. You're not going to cut it as much slack because it's like, no. We've been way too deep into this, but dog, this is 4 chapters, and one of the main purposes of what Fujimoto was doing is making us care about Asami Taka, and now the War Devil known as Yoru. Like, if we don't get this, which clearly they're going to be integral to the story moving forward, we don't know these characters and we won't really care too much. Fujimoto is taking a different approach with this one, because once he brings Denji back into the fold, we know Denji. Like, granted, we want to see more of what he's been up to and what he's looking like right now and all of that stuff, and his relationship with Nayuta, all of that good stuff is something that we want to see, but we already know them, so we really don't need any chapters to build up of, well, who this is. This is building us up so we feel bad for Asami Taka, we understand her more, and also builds up her bond and her relationship with the War Devil. Because the chapter opens up, we find out Yoshida is absent and they're questioning his loyalty to the Devil Hunter Club. Like, yo, you want to be a Devil Hunter? What are you not doing here? Clearly something is up. Clearly Yoshida is in the shadows watching Yuko and Asa. So, okay, they're going to run into a devil at some given point. I'm going to have to help out. So let me just stand in the background. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next chapter or two, Yoshida shows up to help against that man-bat shit. But we get a little bit more character development, assuming it's even real, that Yuko's parents were killed by devils, and that's one of the reasons why Yuko wants to be a devil hunter, on top of the fact that it pays good money, which, if my theory of Denji being, you know, Yuko in disguise is correct, then that probably is just like a false backstory or whatnot. But it gives us more even further of, oh, so Asami Taka's parents were killed by devils. It just gave us more of a bond and building up even further with these characters. Like, I don't know, I really enjoy it for the most part. I get it, you want the craziness, I get it. Chainsaw Man set a certain precedent, but remember, this is Chainsaw Man 2. Remember, this is a different story to a certain degree. It's Chainsaw Man, but we're gonna get different things, and that's okay, because it's building up relationships where Yuko's like, yo, you know, that's great, we both have a bond, we should be partner devil hunters, and we could be basically like devil hunters of vengeance. Like, it's building more character development between the two of them. Personally, I feel like there was something a little odd about, oh, I gotta go use the restroom, I have to pee when I get excited. Could be, again, Denji having to use the restroom real quick, or I don't know, Denji got horny or something. Also, the fact that Yuko compared them to manga characters kind of sounds a little Denji-ish, don't you think? And then the conversation between the War Devil, which I love it, the other half of Asta saying, yo, why don't we kill her? Like, yo, dog, it'll be great to kill her. Come on, we can turn her into a weapon, and the more guiltier you feel about it, the stronger that weapon will be. God damn, dog. Well, it's a War Devil, so yeah, that's par for the course of a devil that is of war. And we get the better name because it's been a little bit difficult. Like, okay, the War Devil and Asa. So basically the War Devil decides, call me Yoru. But also, even that little conversation there is building some type of rapport and relationship between the two of them, where Asa's like, yo, call me by my name, I'm Asa. And the War Devil's like, well, you don't call me by my name. And kind of builds up even further. Well, okay, so clearly there's some type of emotion maybe to this war devil or something of like, well, you don't call me to my name. So then she comes up with, well, call me Yoru. So now we got a little bit more of a rapport. And again, it could very well be that the war devil and Asta become friends themselves. It might be that Yuko is just a temporary thing, but the bond and friendship is really going to be internal with Asta. And we see that the world has not changed that much in terms of devils. In fact, it's getting a little worse because apparently out of every 20 people, 7 people are casualties to devils, according to that preacher guy. It reminded me of like when I'm at Anime Expo and there be those really hardcore religious people out in the streets saying, you're all going to hell for doing this, and I'm just there like, I'm going to hell for liking Dragon Ball. But then we see as they're walking that man bat, I believe that's, if not the same one, I can't recall if he died or not, but definitely that devil that we've seen in part 1. So it's almost reflecting part 1, because if I'm not mistaken, that's the one that Denji has to defeat to get Power's cat back. And we get a little bit more exposition into exactly what it is that Asta and the war devil, or Yoru, what Yoru can and can't do. For starters, at this current position, Yoru is not capable of taking out that devil, so it shows either that they're really weak right now or that devil is too damn strong. Also gives a little bit of an out so that, hey, at certain times Yoru can't take over Asta's body, because apparently when Asta is stricken with fear, she can't take over. So that gives us a little bit of a good sign of there's certain aspects where Asta might be safe. So as long as Asta gets petrified and terrified of shit, Yoru can't do anything. And Yoru recommends slowly back away, but no, they go running off, and it's Yuko and Asta running away from this devil. And I'm not even gonna lie, I feel like within the next chapter or 2, we're definitely gonna see a true devil hunter show up and start introducing, again, whether it be Yoshida, he's been watching them from the shadows and he's coming to protect them. But yeah, also I think at some given point that disguise, if that is indeed Denji under that disguise of Yuko, is probably gonna come off soon. I feel like people are being a little bit too impatient and not giving Fujimoto the chance to cook. Like, come on, dog, like this is building up new characters. We need to understand who Asamitaka is. If not, we're just gonna be like, you know, especially if we start turning over to the previous cast or whatnot, we're not going to care about Asta unless we have that build up. But either way, a little slow pace, but more setup and build up and characterization for this character. Curious what you guys think about Chainsaw Man as it stands right now. Are you in agreement that it's too damn slow and you don't like where it's going, or you're looking forward to it, or how do you feel right now about Chainsaw Man? All right, people, and now we're at the point of this episode where I give my take on best chapters of this week, and in order it goes as follows for me. My Hero Academia #1. At the end of the day, whether or not that sticks will be determining on, you know, if it's a great godlike moment or whatnot. But My Hero comes in #1 with Black Clover at a very, very close second for me. I mean, yes, we didn't have an outcome that was, you know, changing to the series per se, although I would argue, yo, throwing down the gauntlet like that is pretty much a big outcome. But either way, Black Clover #2, One Piece #3. Oh my god, Cross Guild is amazing. But again, a lot of build up and setup, very good and huge build up and setup, showcasing the world has changed, adding even further to world building and whatnot. But #3, One Piece. Probably #4, Jujutsu Kaisen, Maki still throwing down. And Chainsaw Man, very simple, nice build up, characterization, whatnot. But yeah, no bad chapters this week. I ain't gonna lie, when there's a bad chapter, I'm gonna call it out. But as it stands right now, everything very solid, from absolute greatness all the way to decent. But let me know which chapter you thought was the best chapter of this week. Was it Black Clover, My Hero, One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, something else that I'm not covering that you want me to cover? Give me some insight on that, folks. But that's all I have for this one. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and remember, the winner takes it all. Have an awesome one.
You are me.